namin. Immediately paggising, trabaho, speech, Marcos, etc. And then yan, back to back din. So ngayon lang ako hindi naman ako pumapayat masyado, hindi rin tayo masyadong tumataba. Pero okay naman, sakto lang. Yeah, blackheads tawag dyan. See, I don't even know those things. Kasi hindi ako masyadong concerned noon nung feeling bata pa ako. Pero ngayon na matanda na, zaddy mode na, medyo nagpa-freckles na, nagsaspots na gano'n. Parang, sige na nga na, kaya naman nakikita tayo dito sa YouTube. Right? Tomo arigato. Yes, they did horrible things when they were Imperial Japan. I'm talking about 21st century. Tumulong ang Japan sa atin to get multi-role vessels. I think a dozen of them. So maraming salamat again to Japan and our partners for helping us on that front. Our friends sa Korea tumulong din sa atin in terms of some of the ISR capabilities. Also gave us some frigates, if not the corvette, if I'm not mistaken about this. Salamat also sa Korea for the FA-50. Of course, we had to buy it, just to be clear. But yung mga binigay ng Japan, for instance, a lot of them were grants, Yung iba, libre talaga. So, let's be very clear about that. Salamat din sa Amerika, tumulong sa atin dun sa Coast Guard Center natin na napakaganda dyan sa malapit sa Manila Hotel. Yan, tulong din ng mga aliado natin Amerika. Hindi tulong ng China yung mga yan, ha? Just to keep in mind. And the reason we had to do that is because of China. So, hindi ko maintindihan yung pinagsasabi ni tatay minsan. But going back to this, so give credit where credit due. And salamat kay Pinoy. And speaking of that, let me tell you also this. Way before President Duterte came to power, or any of you were even aware of him, or you heard about independent foreign policy, neutrality, all of this blah 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 na hindi naman na-operationalize na mabuti or na-explain na mabuti. I've been following the Philippine foreign policy for a very long time, okay? Bilang a student of history, of international relations, bilang scholar, academic, writing books, etc. At itong masasabi kong guys, yes, aminado ako. Kaya ito kaya nga na misunderstood ako as DDS dati. Kasi, yes, in principle, I agree to the idea that we should be less dependent dun sa traditional allies natin and we have to be more self-reliant. And I supported President Duterte in so far as yun yung aim. Pero yung biglang talon ka from US to China, ibang usapan na yan, di ba? Alright. But before going that, okay, let me give you a background. Kasi, ito kasi ang background natin. The problem is, and that's why I said, kudos to Ramos and also Aquino for the AP modernization because for a very long time, mga kameta, masyado tayong dependent sa Amerika. Alright? Too dependent, I would say. And in a way, we almost outsourced our national security to America even after we got our independence formally, no? Towards the end of Second World War. So ito, formally independent ka, pero ang daming mga basing agreements, etc. Kung saan Amerika pa rin nandito, sila pa rin nagdi-defend sa atin. You get what I'm saying? So we were not really standing for our own 100%. And just to give you an idea, how deep was this strategic subservience to America, I'll give you some quotes from a number of our presidents immediately after Second World War. So, during the Rizal Day speech in 1947, ito po yung sinabi ng aking ka-Ilocano na si President Elpidio Quirino. Very debonair. Alright. This is something he said that, and nasa article ko bala yan by the way, I can forward to you. This is what he said. American occupation of the Philippines was the highest blessing that ever befell the Filipinos in a similar way to the advent of Spain. Parang, what? Wait, what? You know, people apparently could get away with saying these things on Rizal Day pa. Right? And interestingly, meron dun sa speech niya, parang sinabi niya, parang Rizal wouldn't have known na maganda pala pag dumating ang mga Amerikano dito. Na parang may patama pa ganun kay Rizal. Na parang, hello, andyan yung Rizal, yung Monumento Rizal. And then we are thanking our colonizers for coming here. Okay? In fact, years earlier, in fairness naman to President Quirino, this is what yung sinabi ng ating first post-war president, Manuel Rojas. Iba yung Rojas, ito yung, okay. Ito yung sinabi, he was equally effusive about our former colonizers. So, amid growing social awareness of colonial injustice, so after Second World War II, maraming galit sa Amerika, maraming galit bakit yung Amerika ay marami pa rin privileged access sa ating resources, you know, all of those agreements, basing agreements, commercial agreements, yung sira, grabe yung ginawa ng Amerika. So, if you wanna know what I'm talking about, read this book, Rampage. It won the Pulitzer Prize. Okay? It's about the Battle of Manila. Yung ginawa ng Amerika sa atin, winasak nila talaga yung Manila. Grabe. To free us from Japan, they destroyed beautiful Manila. One reason napaka hindi ganun kaganda ang Manila, Perlas del Oriente became, I don't know, squatter del Oriente, is because the American, in order to prevent casualty among themselves, they just decided to bomb as much as they could across Manila to get the Japanese out. But in the process, they destroyed our beautiful city, and many people, many of our kababayan perished. So I didn't say this is by James Scott. All right, he's an American historian, and yes, I think this won also the Pulitzer Prize. This is a legit work. Read it please on your own, or at least read yung mga reviews niya. So maraming Filipino ay hindi natutuwa sa Amerika. Like, bibigyan mo kami ng independence kasi winasak mo yung Manila, etc. Tapos iwanan mo lang kami bigla ngayon, di ba? Parang, wow, that's a very interesting way of doing it. So during this time, marami nagagalit na sa Amerika. Tapos may communism, may Cold War, etc. So itong sila, Quirino, Rojas, etc., they were trying to reassure America, no, don't worry, we're still your staunch allies, etc. And this is what Rojas said. He described America as, quote, our mother, our protector, our liberator, and now our benefactor, and reassured Washington that our feeling toward America is not represented by the loud complaints of an articulate few in our midst. Essentially, mga progressive, leftist, nationalists, etc. Right? Now, this is quite interesting because if you go years earlier, medyo kasaysayan na tayo, remember what Manuel Quezon said, and medyo naging infamous yan. Because President Manuel Quezon, Criollo, Espanyol, Filipino, he wanted us to become as independent as possible. But ang Amerika kasi takot sila pag maging independent tayo, Japan will take over the Philippines, etc. So there were a lot of back and forth there. We can discuss that more. But he said, remember what he said, I would rather have a government run like hell by Filipinos than a government run like heaven by Americanos. Sabi naman ni Robin Padilla, hindi naman Amerikanong kausap natin, kaya mag-Tagalog tayo. Okay, going back to this. Well, that's why they say, be careful what you wish for. Alright? So mukhang medyo natupad yung what you would rather have. Alright? Okay, so that was for me shocking. Not only the Rizal legacy, but also the legacy of Manuel Quezon. He was not perfect, but he wanted Philippines to be as independent possible, and of course, he wanted to be the Supremo. And if you know, of course, alam niyo yung kasaysayan, Manuel Quezon was among those who fought against Spanish occupation, and to a certain degree also the American occupation. Alright? Now, and this is where papasok yung isang tao na binabasa ko for a very long time. Ito yung dati nating senador na si Claro M. Recto. Now, I know some things about him from people like Manong Frankie, God bless his soul, he passed away early this year, who naabutan niya itong mga tao na to. Si Manong Frankie was, 95 years old or something like that. So, naabutan niya itong mga tao na to. I think na-interview niya, pati si Magsaysay, etc. So, nag-usap kami ni Mang Frankie about these things, about these people, kasi naabutan niya eh. But anyway, speaking about Clara M. Recto, ito yung term niya. Ang term niya dun sa ganyang foreign policy is mendicant foreign policy. Parang, sir, tulungan mo kami, sir, ano mo ibigay mo sa akin, sir, ganito, ganun. Alright? So, ito yung sinasabi ni Clara M. Recto noon, mendicant daw. In a particularly eloquent speech before the Nationalista Party, alright? Ito yung dating nationalista, hindi ko na alam niya. Ito yung lamentation niya. The weaklings, the sycophants, and the mendicants who to extricate the nation from misery, they have brought about surrendered the political sovereignty and economic independence of the Philippines to exploiters and oppressors. Ulitin ko ito yung sinabi niya. The weaklings, the sycophants, and the mendicants, yung mga tulungan mo kami, thank you. Ito yung mga to extricate the nation from misery dahil sa damage ng Second World War. Ang ginawa nila, halos na-surrender nila yung political sovereignty and economic independence natin sa exploiters and oppressors natin. And this is what's interesting. So, a few, 6-7 years ago, I wrote a piece for Foreign Affairs magazine on Aquino. It was not very flattering. I'm sure they were not very happy about what I wrote there because I talk about yung mga shortcomings towards the end, etc. Kasama rin yata yung mamasa pa rin 2015 yata to eh. So nasama na yata. Or 2014. Anyway, and I realized, ako yung first Filipino since Benigno Aquino Jr. na nagsulat pala for Foreign Affairs magazine, which is, again, hindi ako nagyabang, but I was like shocked. I was looking like, sino bang ibang mga Filipino nagsulat ito? And Foreign Affairs magazine is the most influential magazine in international affairs. Alright? Yung mga nagsusulat dito ay Richard Nixon, President Biden, Obama, mga ganun level. Alright? Kissinger, Huntington, all of these classics. Alright? Anyway, so sabi ko, okay, basahin ko nga itong sinulat ni Aquino. I didn't know much about Ninoy. No? So I said, basahin natin. Mahusay ba? Medyo mahusay yung sulat niya. Basahin niyo yan, ha. Yung parang title ng book niya, parang What Went Wrong with the Philippines, something like that. No? So very critical siya. 1968 yata yung article, yeah. Ito yung sinabi niya, ang concern niya sa Philippines is not only that we're too dependent on America, ang concern din niya is hindi tayo klaro sa sarili natin identidad. Ito yung sinabi niya, Filipinos are bewildered about their identity. So he fretted about how Filipinos ended up as Asian people who are not Asian in the eyes of their fellow Asians because they see us as, I don't know, Latinos of Asia, American boys, or whatever. And at the same time, we're not Western in the eyes of the West. Obviously, Americans, Europeans don't consider us as one of them. So parang, kaya ang tawag niya sa Filipinas ay bewildered. We're a bewildered nation about our identity. And he writes a lot of interesting things there. Now, half a century later, obviously, after these lamentations of Claro M. Recto and Aquino about napaka-mendicant natin sa Amerika, here we have President Duterte coming out in his nationalistic rhetoric, patriotism, clad in the flag, attacking all these oligarchs, pro-American boys, amboys, etc., etc. So I said, interesting. I said, interesting. If he really wants us to be more independent, you got my 100% support, sir. No problem about that, right? But then it became weird because it became more like I hate US, etc. because of the personal things that happened to him. So very personalized. But more than that, biglang I love China. Parang wait, if you're really independent-minded, you don't jump from an old patron to a new patron, especially if your new patron is a bullier one now compared to before now. And you're not gonna talk about yung ginawa na America wrong 100 years ago while hindi mo pinapansin yung nangyari ngayon, including yung nangyari sa Reed Bank. Anong sinabi ni Digong nung nangyari Reed Bank? Oh, it's a small maritime incident. My goodness, that was not a small maritime incident. Kaya nga daming nagalit nung panahon na yan, right? And kaya nga sabi ko si Duterte parang na-fall siya for pledge trap, not even debt trap. Hindi nga naiwala. Ito yung mga opposition no, debt trap sila ng debt trap. Pag China, mga lubog tayo sa utang. Sabi ko, you don't know what you're talking about. Both of you are wrong. This side are wrong thinking China will really help us big time because Tata is nice to them. Like, forget about it. You don't know what you're talking about. The other side, no, malulubog tayo sa utang. Sabi ko, forget about it. They will not even invest big time in us. You don't want to believe me? Look at what Ben Jokno said the other day. Alright, walang single big ticket infrastructure project in China after all that promise of $24 billion. So clearly, it's very hard to see Duterte's as independent foreign policy. Alright? But at the same time, I think now we have more clarity also dun sa kakulangan ng Amerika sa atin. At also, of course, ayaw natin maging subservient sa Amerika also. Alright? So my point is, to end our over-dependence on America, the solution is not to jump to China or Russia for that matter, no? Kaya nga, ang kailangan po natin dito, parati ko sinasabi guys, ang kailangan po natin dito is equilateral balancing strategy. And this is where, guys, things can get more tricky. And we'll discuss this more soon, guys, because you know what president came closest to a truly equilateral balancing strategy? I would say at least two presidents came closer to that. Neither the previous president nor the outgoing president. Two of them. And both of them are cousins and related. And I'm not saying this because they're both Ilocanos. Marcos Sr. and Ramos. In my opinion, they came closest to achieving an equilateral balancing strategy. Alright? And we'll discuss that more because ang basa ko dito is there are elements in the emerging foreign policy of Bongbong Marcos that kind of resembles what his father was doing and also what Ramos was doing. If you remember, Marcos did not only have good relations with America, he kept our alliance, but he also had communication channels with the Soviet bloc. He also normalized relations with Maoist China. Sumama pa nga si Bongbong dun sa mga bisita nila sa China. Meron pa nga picture ni si Mao Zedong with Imelda, with Bongbong, etc. Hindi sila baby, okay? Hindi na sila baby noon. And yet, he still kept our alliance with the US, and then he played them all against each other to get the most strategic benefit for us. But more crucially, Marcos was a brutal guy domestically in foreign policy, etc. But in domestic policy, you can make a lot of issues. But on foreign policy, he defended the West Philippine Sea. He did his part to make sure that our position on the ground is as solid as possible, including building that airstrip sa Pag-asa. Kaninong admin yan? Hindi yan sa mga nakaraan lang. It goes back to the 70s, guys. Alright, and you know who was the president back then, right? So, my sense, and I'll discuss this more, I'll discuss also about Ramos. You see, Ramos did what I call karaoke diplomacy. So you do karaoke with Jiang Zemin of China. At the same time, he'll go and talk to Clinton. At the same time, he'll go to ASEAN. At the same time, he'll go to Japan. That's smart foreign policy. Hindi yung, ayoko ng US sa China na ako. Or ayoko ng China, dito na ako sa US. Man, I'm sorry, it doesn't work. But we have more to discuss, so I'm not gonna throw everything at you. Going back to this, in fairness naman to President Aquino, at least he started this process of military modernization. First try under Ramos. Kasi nga, ang problema kay Marcos naman, yung giyera sa Mindanao. Dahil sa giyera sa Mindanao, bug down yung AFP natin. We used to have one of the best militaries in Asia, in Southeast Asia at least in the 1950s and 60s. By 70s, 80s, wala na. Talagang bogged down internal insurgency and all. So yung mga sinasabi, okay, Marcos, blah, blah, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Kaya kailangan din natin tapusin yung giyera sa Mindanao. So thank you again kay Aquino and also kay President Duterte. Kasi malaking contribution ng dalawang presidente na yan dun sa BARM at the peace process in Mindanao. So in fairness, due credit to both President Duterte and also Aquino. But tayo hindi maging ganyan. Like, why can't we be like that? Why can't we give credit to multiple presidents? Right? Where credit is due. Why can't we also criticize the presidents we chose? Yun nga problema ko eh. Patriotism before fanaticism. Huwag gawin showbiz ang politika. Yung, ito yung gusto kong artista. Ito. Hindi guys. May responsibilidad yung mga leaders natin. Let's give them credit where credit is due. As I said, thank you to Pangulong Duterte for continuing the revised AFP Act. Thank you to Pangulong Duterte for the BARM peace process. Yes, but also thank you to Aquino for starting the process here and there, both on the peace process, both on AFP modernization. So a lot of things that we're going to benefit, a lot of things that Marcos Jr. will be benefiting from is because of the good policies of his two immediate predecessors who come from different sides. You get what I'm saying, guys? Ganun dapat ang style natin. Patriotism, responsible dialogue and conversation, not fanaticism, wag showbiz style. Alam ko love na love ng mga vloggers yan at saka mga politiko eh. Pero hindi yan maganda para sa ating bayan. Kawawa naman yung bayan natin. Kung tayo-tayo na nga lang mag-aaway tayo, kakain tayo ng buhay. So let me be very clear, I was never happy with the subservience to America, but I don't think the solution to that is to jump to the other side. So I'll discuss soon, guys, in our next meta, ano naman ang ginawa nung sa tingin ko, the presidents who had a better grasp of foreign policy, and what are the lessons for Marcos Jr. Alright? And then later on, God willing, pag nakausap natin, interview natin si Ma'am Carlos also, I'll discuss this more with her because she was there during the Marcos Sr. years. She was there during the Ramos years. We can discuss these things. In a way, you can say, I'm always giving a free advice, right? And this is not out of nowhere. This is based on intimate, passionate, patriotic way of trying to understand yung ating kasaysayan. So, hindi naman lahat mali nangyari din sa atin, guys. Hindi naman puro mali lang itong admin, puro tama na. May mga mali, may mga tama, may mga naayos, may mga hindi naayos. So, it's a mixed picture. It's a half empty, half full glass. So, ang gagawin natin dito is we'll look at the half empty and half full. Hindi lang yung banat ng banat, hindi lang yung parang, napaka-the best si tatay, ganyan. Hindi rin gano'n, alright? So, this is what we're gonna half empty, half full. And para meron tayong matinong perspektibo dito sa ating bansa at saan tayo papunta. And to be honest, if you actually listen to our talks, and when I listen to myself sometimes, parang may pag-asa nga naman tayo. In fairness naman, di ba? Parang pati sarili ko na therapy ko. Parang, nga naman Richard. Naman, relax ka lang. May maganda naman nangyari sa ating bayan, di ba? Hindi naman lahat ganito, ganyan. And remember, President Duterte may have said things that I disagree with, that I think were irresponsible, childish, whatever, but the Duterte administration, including Secretary Grenzana, Secretary Locsin, Secretary Esperon, etc., people in DFA, a lot of them also did very good things for our country. So sometimes you also have to separate yung rhetoric at mistakes of a president from what the whole administration has accomplished. Because sometimes, kasi teamwork din yan eh. Parang ganito yan, parang sa football. There are times maybe Ronaldo, Messi, whoever don't play best. But if the whole team works best, still the team will win. Maybe that was not the day when Ronaldo was his best or Messi was his best. But that was a day that Real Madrid was able to win or Barcelona was able to win. You get what I'm saying? Of course, sana comes a day both yung president and the whole team are good at the same level, high level. And sana yung ating taong bayan, pag fina-follow yung ating foreign policy, may pagmamahal sa bayan at patriotic, wag fanatic. Right? Citizenship, not showbiz-ship. Right? Yun ang responsible citizenship, hindi marites showbiz ang dapat approach natin dito. Okay? especially sa mga bagay ukol sa ating soberania, yung foreign policy natin, yung sovereign rights natin sa West Philippine Sea. Wag natin i-vlogger, trash vlogger, etc. yan. So as you see, we're trying to have a most balanced way of approaching this because we want to understand anong mga options for the incoming administration under Marcos Jr. and what he can do. All right? Okay. Salamat. Thank you very much. I know there's so much more to discuss, but kailangan natin bumalik sa mga ating mga responsibilidad. So again Republic Act number 10349. All right? Pakibasa 'yan. Basa. All right? And if you're interested, 2010 pa lang ito yung sinulat ko, The Poverty of Philippine Foreign Policy together with Dr. Bello. All right? So noon pa lang critical na ako sa over-reliance natin sa US. But I don't think the solution is also yung love, love, love for the other side. No, you have to find the proper equilateral balancing strategy. Okay? Now, we'll discuss more of this soon. Napansin ko, kung binigla ko lahat yan, I don't know, tapos may mga team late, may mga team live, mahirap na. So, thank you very much sa mga friends natin, our mites from Australia, yung mga hindi sumama sa atin, sa mga later Meta 3 natin. Thank you naman dyan sa mga friends natin from Quezon City, from Metro Manila, naimbag ng gabi sa mga kapsat natin dyan sa North, maayong paano ba yung ang gandang gabi sa Bisaya? Alright, okay. And then sa mga friends natin sa Mindanao, more brothers and sisters natin, wassalamualaikum. Dun sa mga friends din natin sa Khalij, sa Gitnang Silangan, sa United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, wassalamualaikum. Thank you very much for watching us. To Shakur to our friends from Turkey, friends from Europe. Yung mga Europe, kamusta mga dyan? Morning pa yata. Medyo 10 a.m. yata ngayon sa Europe, diba? Oh, well, depende. If it's London, siguro mga 11, 12 sa medyo lunchtime na dyan sa Western Europe, sa mga Germany, France, mga ganun. Alright, salamat. Thank you for joining us. Thank you also dun sa mga friends natin from California, San Diego, marami tayong friends dyan, sa Canada, marami tayong friends, Toronto, Vancouver, Alberta, how do you say that? Alberta, ginawa kong parang Espanyol, Alberta, Okay, thank you. Thank you na ulit kay Brav Pitt. The name is Brav Pitt. The name is James Bond. The name is Brav Pitt. Yan, dapat ganoon. Thank you naman dyan kay Brav Pitt. Balance lang tayo kay Mary, Odessa, Gandeza. Thank you kay Mia, Fresnido. Thank you kay Ja. Brillantes. Uy, ganda ng parang si Director Brillantes. Thank you sa iyo. Thank you sa mga regulars natin, kay Ange. Thank you dun sa mga Team Tambay and Team Libre. Thanks kay Jocelyn. Lomberio. Thank you kay Mitch. Ito si Mitch, galante yan, mabait yan. Yan ang mga gusto mong kasama kung gusto niyo mag-Team Libre, alright? Yan ang pa-orderin nyo ng Starbucks, tapos stay kayo dun sa best spot ng 4 hours. Thank you kay Mary and Andales. Andales, is that correct? Kay Ricky. Hiniwalay niya yung CKY. Alright, thank you very much for that. I appreciate. Thank you kay Josephine Bagaporo for joining us. For Eventurer, Acumen. Yes, thank you very much. And actually, I need a little bit of power nap because I have to work later. Medyo late tayo natulog. Konti lang tulog natin kanina. Ayan na, teacher duties. Alam mo na, Des. Hindi ako nagreklamo, I'm just saying, yan ang problema kung marami kang commitment sabay and you're responsible, so you want to do it all. So maybe I have to do a little bit of power nap then back to work again. Salamat kay Eugene. Yes, salamat kay Ja. Yan, thank you na pala ako. Doon na tayo sa baba. Yan. GSW. Ano yung GSW? Golden State Warriors? Ayan na naman tayo. Si Nixon. Ayan si Nixon Corpus. Favorite natin yan. Yan ang parating, partisan ka. Basta wala lang, si tatay ang the best. Tatay ang best president in the solar system. Tatay ang nag-save sa ganun. Ay, partisan ka. Dapat sabihin mo talaga si tatay ang the best. Diba? Tapos talano. Tapos ganyan. Alright. Okay. Salamat kay Kate. Abalos. Yun, no? Ayan. Mga team mates. Meron na pala akong Australian fan club. Feeling talaga, no? Team mates. Alright. Team mates. Team Metamites. Alright. Kay Faye Santos, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. Thank you kay Jeanbert Brucales. Tapos andyan naman yung mga friends natin. Si Maria Atay from Quezon Province. You know. Yun, no? Ayan. Thank you ulit ako sa kay Doc Caballes dun sa skincare tips natin dahil hindi na tayo bata. Alam mo dati yung medyo bata-bata ka pa, yung kahit di ka na wash ng face mo, tulog ka na, pagising mo, fresh ka pa rin. Wala na, hindi na ganun. Hindi na ganun. Kailangan talaga na may konting medyo konting ligo. Damihan yung ligo. Twice a day, thrice a day. Grabe yung mga nag-comment, sir, wag ka maligo masyado. Para ano naman. Grabe! Grabe! Yan, si Fanny Miguel. Thank you very much. Yes, for your support and kindness. Ayan na. Ayan na. May mga tanong ba kayo dyan? May mga tanong tayo dyan kanina eh. Nagtanong si ano ba yan? Si Tata Asong. Yung ba yung parang Tata Company? Yung ba yan? So, are you supporting also our men-women football team? Of course, of course. Speaking of that, by the way, honestly, I think dapat football tayo kaysa basketball eh. And if you know anything about history, you see I keep on talking about Barcelona, Messi and all. You know why? One reason is, guess who was the best player in Barcelona before Messi? And guess where did that person come from? Huh? Anyone? Classroom? O mga team replay, team live. Sinong best Barcelona player in terms of goals, etc. before Messi? And guess anong bansa siya galing? Anyone? Ayun na naman, mga Golden State Warrior. Ayan tayo. Ayan, dapat alam niya na si Paulino Alcantara Riestra. Ito po, siya po ang top player ng Barcelona dati. At guess what? Pinoy na mistizo siya. Alright? I think from Iloilo siya if I'm not mistaken. Right? And he played in Barcelona and the Philippines and also Spain. Ito yung record niya. From 1918 to 1927, he had 395 goals for Barcelona. And for the Spanish national team, he had 6 goals out of only 5 appearances. He had only 5 appearances, he had 6 goals. He also played for the Philippines in 1917. He had 15 goals in only 5 appearances. Right? And the Philippines was also the silver medalist dun sa football competition sa Far Eastern Championship Games. These are the forgotten secret history of the Philippines. We had the best Barcelona player before Messi. Right? And taga-Pilipinas yan. Alright? So, and the good thing with football is you don't need to be 6'7", 6'8", 6'10", whatever. You get what I'm saying? So Alcantara was born in Concepcion, Iloilo. Alright? Yung nanay niya Ilongga. Okay? So he's as Filipino as you can get. Of course, he has Spanish blood, given yan. But you get what I'm saying? So taga Ilonggo siya. Ilonggo siya. Also from Iloilo. Alright? Sa Concepcion siya pinanap. So, I want to see a national team that is not only yung mga, askal, yung mga, kinukuha lang, lagay lang dyan yung mga naglaro sa ibang bansa, ilagay mo lang, assemble mo lang dito. Wag naman ganun. Sana we rear our own domestic talents also. Also, of course, I'm okay with getting yung mga natin. Pero sana yung domestic talents natin, rear natin. And mag-invest tayo. Ang laki ng gastos natin sa basketball, etc., etc. Ang laki ng attention na binibigay natin. But guys, let's be honest. Basketball has an inherent physical bias. Tall countries, even though hindi sila ganun kagaling, nahihirapan tayo sa kanila. Hanggang mga Korea, Japan lang kaya natin. Pag China, Iran, Australia, wala na tayong laban. And I'm talking about only Asia Pacific. Forget about beating Spain or US, mga ganun. Do you get what I'm saying? But football, you don't need height. You need speed, you need agility, you need resilience, you need grit, you need strategy. Kayang-kaya natin yan. Di sana kung nag-invest tayo sa football, baka ka-level natin ngayon, Korea, Japan. Right? Tingnan mo, Korea, lalo Japan. They're not tall. Lagay mo yung mga players ng Japan. Maliit lang sila kumpara dun sa mga ibang bansa. Kumpara sa Australians, sa Iranians, sa Saudis, even kumpara sa Koreans. Koreans are a bit taller than Japanese. Right? Pero grabe ang galing nila. Did you watch yung game nila? Di ba Brazil 5-1, tinambakan ng Korea. Japan, Brazil 1-0 lang yung talo. Close fight. Tapos tinalo pa ng Japan yung Ghana. And I'm betting on Japan to make it to the next round. I think kaya nila dun sa group nila. Medyo mahirap yung group nila dito sa World Cup, pero kaya nila. You know what I'm saying? The Japanese, they have similar physique to us. Hindi sila ganong katangkad. Parang mas malaki pa yata ang katawan natin eh. So, I don't know. I just feel maling. Baseball, never mind yun. Sa Amerikano naman yun. Di, sana football talaga in-invest natin. Alam ko Spanish legacy yan, hindi yan American legacy, etc. But guys, mas tugma sa atin yan. And football is a more cool, global. I'm sorry, no offense to basketball. I know it's cool and all, but come on guys. Ako nga, hindi ako nakaka-relate sa basketball. Tatangkad nila, hindi naman ako ganun katangkad, di ba? Pero football, nakaka-relate ako. CR7, not too different. Medyo similar, mga ganun. Mga ganun, alright. Si Messi nga, 5'6", 7" lang. Tignan mo, best player ever for some people. You don't need much of a height. You need skills, you need resilience, you need training. Everything that we have in the Philippines, right? And Japan, yeah. Japan is the second highest ranked. Iran is number 1 and Japan second in Asia Pacific. But I think Japan should be top 15 to be honest. I think proper ranking, Japan should be top 15. Easily the best in Asia. Alright. And kahit lang natin mga yan, mga 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", mga ganyan lang natin mga players nila eh. Kayang-kaya nila. Mga goalkeepers nila, siguro height ko lang. Or barely 6'6", 6'1", mga ganun lang siguro. Hindi yung mga Courtois na 6'7", 6'6", mga ganyan. Diba? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even have to be that tall and physically dominant like those NBA players to be globally competitive. You see, who are the best players in basketball? Hindi ako makakarelate. Lalaki yung tatangkad. Pero sa football, it's Messi or Ronaldo, right? Okay, so I'm just telling you, di sana maging realistic din tayo. But anyway, I mean, who cares about what I say about this? No? Pero yun lang naman sa akin. Eh. In fairness, magaling tayo sa boxing, magaling tayo sa weightlifting, sa billiards, etc. I think we have to work on that. Sana yung e-games, i-sustain natin yan. Mukhang papasok na sa Olympics yung e-games. So may laban din tayo, may chance tayo mag-medal doon. Pero football sana, if you really invest in that, may chance tayo over the next 10, 20, 30 years. At hindi lang tayo sana umaasa dun sa... Kasi I'll be honest, there was a time, nandun ako sa Greenbelt noon. Long time ago, mga 15 years ago. Tapos nakaupo ako. Tapos may dalawang parang foreigner nag-uusap. Parang nag-uusap sila, I think... No, they were not speaking Spanish, they were speaking English. Pero foreigner, pagtingin ko, tapos biglang askal pala sila. Parang sabi ko, ilang years to na sa Pilipinas, you know? Of course, I have no right to, kasi, alam mo na, I'm mestizo and all that. But the point is, sana rear yung domestic talent also, right? Ang daming magaling dyan from Mindanao and Visayas. Napakagaling. Yung Mindanao, ang daming mga galing na football players. Yung mga naglalaro lang dun sa field ng walang matinong ganun. Pero ang gagaling nila. Pag dinala mo dito sa Manila, no match yung mga taga dito. Ang gagaling nila eh. Alright. Okay. Thank you very much guys. I know medyo nag-ano tayo. Bukas na lang yung isabong. Kasi, ayan na naman si tatay eh. Tsaka alam mo yung isabong na yan, medyo malaking issue yan eh. Parang online casino issue yan eh. Yun yung interesting kay tatay. Sabi niya, kunyari, ayaw niya sa gambling and all. But look at it. Isabong, online, pogos, lahat sa kanya yan. O yan, sige, defend niyo pa si tatay. The best yan. Alright. Okay. Salamat. Thank you very much to our friends all around the world. And please continue to support us. Medyo pahinga lang ako ng konti. As you can see, I'm tired, no? Get a little sleep and then back to work. Yes, Western Visayas. Napakagaling din nila sa football. Alright. Thank you very much, John, guys. Sabi ni Alejandro Vergal, baka naman pwede gawin Olympics ang isabong. Alam mo kung sino mananalo? Ay, alam niyo na yan. Hindi ko na sasabihin yung pangalan, pero na Senate hearing na yan. Alright, okay. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much. God bless po. Walang. Talagang